If you're at a point where your beats just aren't hitting hard enough, they sound muddy, they don't sound clean, they don't sound polished, you're where all of us have been before, and it's time to start learning a little bit of mixing. So what I wanted to do today is just give you guys a little bit of a rundown of mixing in Ableton with just the effects that come with Ableton. So yeah, let's go ahead and just hop right into Ableton, and I'll show you some tricks to get your beats sounding a lot better. The first thing I always do on my beats is throw a glue compressor on the master and turn soft clip on. All this is going to do is make it so that we're not going above 0, and it's also going to distort it in a pleasing way. This is basically acting as our limiter. I already have this project organized a little bit, but I'm going to group things just to make it a little bit easier. So I grouped the melody section and our drum section, and the reason why I'm doing this is so that I can affect them as a group. This is going to make them sound more cohesive, and it's just going to give it a more overall polished feel. You may have heard people talk about like bus compression and that kind of thing, and this is how you do it. It's just affecting multiple things at once like this in a group. You can throw a compressor on there and you're compressing the bus. Let's go ahead and start out with some EQing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw an EQ on the pad where the beat comes in, and we're just going to low shelf. Now what this is going to do is this is going to create more room for the 808. I'm going to go ahead and shelf it at about 119 hertz, and we're going to cut out some of that mud down there. So let's go ahead and hear how that sounds with the 808. Something I do want to say is when you are mixing, you want to mix with everything playing. I don't really care how this pad sounds soloed, but I do care how it sounds in the mix. So let's go ahead and adjust this a little bit and make it sound as good as we possibly can. So what I did there is I just cut out some of the harsh spots up here, some of the muddy spots right here, and then I cut down on the lows. Our bass is taking care of that. We don't really need that section in the pad. Next, we'll go ahead and move on to this lead. We're going to go ahead and low cut it like before. So what I just did there with the pad is, again, I'm cutting out this mud down here, cutting out the lows, and then I'm boosting a little bit of the highs so we can get a little bit of a sparkle on that sound, just so it pops out of the mix a little bit. Now, I'm not going to want to boost this too much because if we're going to have a wrapper on this, they might be conflicting here, so I might actually pull that back down to leave room for the wrapper. Other than that, I think we're pretty much done with our melody section. Just a few EQs like that can really help clean it up, so let's go ahead and move on to the 808. So with the 808, I want an EQ on here, and I want a saturator. So with the bass, we're going to cut out some of the lows and boost some of the mids. We don't want a whole lot of rumble down in the lows, so you got to be pretty careful to control the lows. This is actually going to be a direct effect of how loud our beat is. If there's too much in the lows, your beat might not sound very loud. So let's go ahead and just do a little bit of EQ here, and then I'll explain what I'm doing afterwards. So essentially what I did is I just controlled the lows down here. If you could see it on the graph, they're peaking pretty high, and you can hear it too. Don't mix with your eyes, mix with your ears. But there was a lot of lows down there, and so I just brought them back down, and then over in the low mids, I actually boosted a little bit just because that is really kind of the part that you're going to hear on like a cell phone, and it's kind of like the distorted sound. The lows are super important, don't get me wrong, but that part is really, really crucial to the 808 as well. So kind of what we're doing is we're just balancing this. We're not completely getting rid of the lows, but we are bringing them down a little bit because they were a little bit out of control. And then the low mids, we're going to boost it a little bit. And with those pads, when we were EQing those, we were creating room for this. So everything's kind of starting to fit together better now. And then with the saturator, we're just adding a little bit of distortion, turn on the soft clip, turn up the drive. It's adding a little bit of distortion. And you kind of just do this to taste. So you just want to turn the knob until you think it sounds good. Last but not least, we're just going to do a little bit of mixing on the drums. If you remember, on the 808, we just boosted this section and we just took this section out over here. So now what I can do is I can come in on the kick and we can do the reverse. As far as my other sounds, I mainly just did leveling, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make another group for just my hats, and we're going to go ahead and shelf those so we're not taking up any room in the lows. And we're going to boost the highs as well. Let's go ahead and throw an EQ on the clap, and we'll go ahead and adjust that accordingly. So what I did there is I gave it a little bit of punch in the 2K range, and I took out some of the low mids. Not that that was super crucial. Let me actually also low cut, just in case there's any information down there. We want to leave room for the 808. And then all I did is I took off a little bit of sheen, a little bit of sparkle with this high shelf, just a tiny bit because we just added some to the hi-hats. I really want to keep it clean and smooth sounding and not harsh. So just taking a little bit of the highs off the clap after boosting them on the hi-hat is going to keep things under control. The last thing I want to do on the drums is put a compressor on here. Compression is a little bit of a difficult topic. I guess the easiest way to understand it is we're not affecting like the tone of the sound, we're affecting the dynamics. Let me kind of just show you what I'm talking about. We'll go ahead and go into this drum bus, and I have this glue compressor on here. I have it set to soft clip because I kind of always do that with my glue compressors. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the attack up to 30. What this is going to do is it's going to allow it the initial hit, the initial transient of the sound to come through before the compression starts. We're going to leave it on this medium release here. This is fine. And we're going to leave the ratio on 4:1. Just know that you can mess with these knobs if you want. But basically, these are just going to be some basic settings for bus compression for drums that are just kind of going to work, and I've used them on many different songs. It's not a one-size-fits-all, though, so you may need to adjust the release to make the compression sound smoother, because if you have like a short release, it's going to sound like it's pumping all the time, but if it's too long, you know, it's not going to sound natural, and so you really have to adjust this. Sometimes I do 4 or 6. Luckily, there aren't a whole lot of settings here, so you just kind of have to dial things in. Let's go ahead and get to work on this, though, and we'll see what we can do. So what I ended up doing is I took the clap out of the drum group and I compressed it by itself, because when the kick and the clap are hitting at the same time, the compression was just a little too heavy for me. So I took that out of the group and I processed it by itself, and I think the beat is sitting a lot better. So last but not least, we're going to go to our master and we're just going to dial in this makeup gain, make sure the beat's hitting hard, make sure that everything sounds good. And yeah, let's go ahead and do that real quick here. While this beat may not be perfect, I do think it would stand out a lot more on YouTube or BeatStars or whatever website you're posting it on. So these are just some ideas to make your beat sound a lot better using just what comes with Ableton. These are all free with Ableton, and I think actually all these effects, except for maybe the glue compressor, come with every version of Ableton. So no matter what version of Ableton you're using, you can make your beat sound a whole lot better than it did before. This is probably going to be the last time I'm mentioning this, but I am running a giveaway. So link in the description. Go ahead and check it out if you want a chance to win a $100 gift card to any music retailer of your choice. Link in the description. You don't have to subscribe or anything, but like I said, this is probably going to be the last time I mention it, just because I am pretty close to hitting 1,000, and that's the cutoff. So once I hit 1,000, we're picking a winner, and yeah. So if you want to get in that, go ahead and join. If you guys have any questions about anything that was discussed in the video, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I'd love to help you guys out some more. And if you guys did enjoy the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. I got plenty more content coming out. So yeah, other than that, you guys have a great day, and thank you for watching.